What if I told you the most fiercely guarded secret to becoming outrageously, undeniably, stupid rich? Wasn't about grinding 24/7s, wasn't about networking until your voice gives out, wasn't about another soul-crushing hustle. What if the secret was simpler? What if it was about something you already do every single night? What if the key to unlocking a flood of wealth was nothing more than mumbling a few specific powerful lines right before you drift off into dreamland? It sounds completely insane, doesn't it? Like a late-night infomercial promise that's too good to be true. I get it. I was the world's biggest skeptic, except I've now met the people, I've seen the proof, and I've held the evidence in my own hands. I'm talking about everyday folks who swear that this dusty, nearly forgotten little prayer, a few sentences scribbled down way back in 1925, is the sole reason they're now getting cash deposits while they're literally drooling on their pillows. I want you to stick around for this, because the stories you're about to hear, and the bank alerts that followed, are probably going to short-circuit your logical brain. Prepare to have your reality tilted on its axis. If you've ever felt like there has to be an easier way, and this idea intrigues you even a little, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. You won't want to miss the evidence I'm about to share. Picture this. It's a sweltering Saturday afternoon, and I'm elbow deep in someone else's history at a sprawling estate sale. You know the kind, a house where the air is thick with the smell of mothballs, old paper and unspoken secrets. Boxes are stacked precariously to the ceiling, a leaning tower of forgotten memories. I'm a digger. I live for the hunt, for the one treasure buried beneath decades of junk. And at the bottom of a heavy cardboard box, underneath a pile of yellowed tablecloths and tarnished silverware, I find it. Not a treasure chest, but a thin, brittle pamphlet. The paper felt like a dried leaf, ready to crumble. The title read, "Your Word is Your Wand," with a copyright of 1925 by a woman named Florence Scovel Shinn. It was a name I'd never heard. I almost tossed it aside, but something made me flip through its fragile pages. My fingers stopped on page 47. The heading was "The Sleep Treatment for Abundant Supply." I scoffed, read the short paragraph, and rolled my eyes so hard I almost strained something. It sounded like spiritual fluff, pure and simple. But then this strange, persistent little nudge, a whisper in my gut, said, "Just try it. What's the harm?" So that night, feeling like a complete idiot, I did. I whispered the words, picked a number that felt both impossible and delicious, $10,000, and then promptly forgot about it. For 33 days, my life was exactly the same. Nothing. Then, on the 34th day, a strange envelope showed up. It was an old royalty check from a project I thought was long dead, a ghost from my past. The amount? Not close to 10,000. It was exactly $10,000, to the penny. My blood ran cold. Coincidence? My logical brain screamed yes, but my gut knew better. I shared the story hesitantly online, and then my DMs started flooding. One after another, people from all over the world started sending me screenshots, telling me their stories. It was the same prayer, the same method, just with different numbers on the checks. The pattern was undeniable. Let me introduce you to Sara. We need to talk about Sara, because she's the perfect snapshot of what life feels like when you're trapped. A single mom living in Tucson, Arizona, working 2 soul-sucking jobs, just to keep the lights on and food on the table. Her days were a blur of exhaustion, a frantic race against the clock. Her car was making a sound that was one part death rattle, one part final warning before the repo man would come knocking. Every night, after her kids were asleep, she'd fall into the hypnotic blue glow of her phone, doom scrolling through an endless feed of hollow affirmations and 7-step guides to a better life. I am a money magnet. I attract abundance. The words felt like ashes in her mouth, because her bank account told a very different story. Nothing was sticking. The desperation was a physical weight on her chest. One night, a friend, completely out of the blue, sends her a link to a short video quoting Florence Scovel Shinn. Sara almost swiped past it, another drop in the ocean of empty promises, but the message was simple, direct. It wasn't about 100 complicated steps. It was about one. Sara looked at her eviction notice on the counter, heard the ominous knocking sound from her car in her memory, and thought, what do I possibly have to lose? That night, with a strange mix of despair and a tiny flickering ember of hope, she clutched her phone like it was a teddy bear. whispered the prayer 3 times, and fell into a deep, exhausted sleep for the first time in months. So what is this mystical sequence of words? It sits almost laughably simple, which is why most people underestimate its power. It sits not long. It sits not complicated, and it doesn't require any special training. Here is the exact line, straight from Florence's nearly century-old text. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that the insert your amount, dollars which is mine by divine right is now, released and reaches me under grace, in a perfect way. Let's break that down, because every word is a key. Infinite Spirit, you're not praying to a judgmental man in the sky, you're speaking to the formless creative energy of the universe that connects all things. I give thanks, this is crucial, you're not begging, you're not hoping. You are expressing gratitude for something that has already happened in the energetic realm. The $1,000, or 10,000, or 50, whatever you need, be specific. A vague wish gets a vague result, which is mine by divine right. This is the killer phrase. You are not asking for something you don't deserve. You are claiming what is inherently, spiritually, yours. It removes the guilt and the feeling of unworthiness, is now released and reaches me. You're commanding its release and acknowledging its journey to you. Under grace, in a perfect way. This is the safety clause. It ensures the money comes in a way that harms no one and brings only positive consequences. It won't be an insurance payout from a car crash. It will be a blessing. The instructions are simple. Say it with feeling. Genuinely try to feel the relief and joy of it being a done deal. Claim it as a fact. Then, and this is the hardest part, shut up about it. Don't go looking for it. Don't obsess. You place the order, now let the universe handle the delivery. That's it. That was a Tuesday night. The rest of the week was the usual frantic struggle. On Friday afternoon the doorbell rang. Sarah's heart sank. She was sure it was a process server with an eviction lawsuit. She opened the door to find her landlord's young assistant, a kid she'd seen around a few times. He wasn't holding a lawsuit, he was holding a plain white envelope. He just said the owner wanted you to have this, and left. Her hands trembling, Sara tore it open. Inside was a cashier's check. It covered her back rent, but there was more. An extra $1,000. On the memo line, in neat cursive handwriting, were 2 words, Miracle Fund. Sara collapsed onto her couch, tears streaming down her face. It was real. It actually worked. A month later, feeling bolder, she decided to test it again. This time she bumped the figure to $5,000. She did the prayer, felt the familiar spark of belief, and let it go. A week later she got an automated email from a self-publishing platform she'd used years ago. She'd written a short zombie-themed e-book in a weekend, a silly project she'd completely forgotten about. The email informed her of an unusual spike in sales. She logged into her account, her heart pounding. The book had, for no discernible reason, rocketed up the genre charts. Her royalty statement for the month wasn't $5,000, it was $5,012.47. She immediately texted me a string of 17 exclamation marks. I know because I went back and counted them. She was free. Now, for every Sara, there's a Marcus. Marcus is a systems engineer with a PhD and a worldview built on data, logic, and a healthy dose of cynicism. To him, manifestation was just confirmation bias with glitter. He thought it was a lovely idea for people who couldn't do math. But his girlfriend, a follower of my work, challenged him. Prove it's bogus, she said. Use your science. Intrigued by the challenge, Marcus designed an experiment. He would A/B test the sleep prayer for 12 weeks. On prayer nights he would perform the affirmation exactly as instructed. On control nights he'd just go to sleep normally. He logged everything in a meticulously organized spreadsheet. The results started trickling in, and they made no logical sense. The prayer nights were followed by bizarrely fortunate events. A friend he hadn't spoken to in years sent him a surprise Venmo for $200 with the note, "Just felt like it." He received a notice from the IRS about a forgotten tax refund from 4 years prior, amounting to over $1,200. Most significantly, a former colleague contacted him with a consulting opportunity, a side gig that required just 2 Zoom calls and a short report. The pay, $20,000. His spreadsheet was starting to look less like a scientific journal and more like a diary of miracles. the statistical correlation was undeniable. He calculated the p-value, the probability of these events happening by random chance. It was 0.002. In scientific terms, that's a stunningly significant result. He told me he was drinking his morning coffee while reviewing the final data when he just started laughing, snorting coffee all over his laptop. Now, Marcus is the guy spamming his engineering team's Slack channels with links to Florence Scovel Shinn's book, with the caption, "Peer review this nerds." Then there's my favorite story. Grandma Ruth, 78 years young, living on a fixed income, a master of couponing, and powered by pure unadulterated stubbornness. Ruth wasn't struggling, but she was limited. Her one big dream was to buy a tiny specific cottage near a lake that she'd loved since she was a little girl, a cottage that cost $50,000 more than she had. Her daughter, who had been using the prayer herself, gently suggested it to her. She wrote it down on a small piece of notepaper. Ruth didn't say much. She just nodded, folded the paper carefully, and tucked it into the pocket of her favorite house robe. She treated that piece of paper like it was a secret love note. She didn't talk about it. She didn't obsess. But every night, she would hold it in her hand before she slept. 6 nights later, she was at her weekly bingo game at the community center. After the games, they did the drawing for a national sweepstakes that the center had been selling tickets for. Ruth had bought one ticket weeks ago and forgotten about it. The announcer read the winning number. Ruth looked down at her ticket. It was a match. The grand prize was a check for $50,000. She just sat there for a moment, a slow smile spreading across her face. At the prize table, she bought Diet Cokes for everyone at her table, raised her can, and gave a little shrug. "Divine right, ladies," she said with a twinkle in her eye. "Divine right." So what is the mechanism here? Why does this work? Is it magic, or is it something more scientific, something happening in the neurology of our own brains? Neuroscientists and psychologists have a name for that hazy, floaty, drift-off zone you enter just before you fall asleep. It's called the hypnagogic state. Think of it as the moment the notoriously tough bouncer of your conscious mind, your inner critic, the one filled with doubt and fear and what-ifs, finally gets sleepy and goes off duty. During this brief window, the gate to your subconscious mind swings wide open. This is where the magic happens. Your subconscious is the powerful, non-analytical supercomputer that runs 95% of your life. It doesn't judge or argue. It simply accepts what it's told as truth and works tirelessly to make it your reality. When you introduce an affirmation like Shinn's prayer during this gatekeeper bypass state, it slides straight into your subconscious programming like a piece of junk mail that turns out to be a winning lottery ticket. Once that directive, "the money which is mine is now released," is accepted as fact, it activates a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS. The RAS is like a personalized search engine for the world. It filters out the billions of bits of data you're exposed to and only shows you what it thinks is important to you. By planting this idea of incoming money, you program your RAS to start actively scanning your environment for opportunities, connections, and ideas that match that financial goal. Suddenly you notice an ad you would have ignored. You get a call from someone you haven't heard from in years. An old idea pops back into your head with a new angle. Your phone pings with a notification you would have otherwise missed. It feels like a miracle, but it's a beautifully orchestrated collaboration between your intention and your brain's own powerful filtering system. Now, as powerful as this is, people do mess it up. I've seen it time and again. There are 3 common mistakes that will absolutely kill the results. The first is turning the prayer into a polite, desperate beg. They say the words, but the energy behind it is infinite spirit. "Oh please, if it's not too much trouble, could you maybe see your way to sending me a little cash? I'd be ever so grateful." That energy reeks of lack, scarcity, and unworthiness. It affirms that you don't have it, and you don't deserve it. You have to come at it from a place of royal authority, as if you're a king or queen simply requesting what is already in your treasury. The second mistake is calendar stalking. People do the prayer and then wake up the next day and think, "Okay, where is it? It's been 9 hours." They check their bank account obsessively. They look for it around every corner. This isn't trust, it's a hostage negotiation with the universe. It's the energetic equivalent of ordering a package and then calling the delivery company every 5 minutes to ask where the driver is. That frantic, controlling energy cancels out the letting go part, which is essential. You have to release it completely. The third, And most subtle mistake is skipping the gratitude. This isn't like ordering a pizza from Domino's. You're not just placing a transactional order, you are aligning with a universal flow of abundance. The feeling of gratitude is the frequency you need to be on to receive. By giving thanks before it arrives, you are sending a powerful signal that you are ready and worthy to receive it. You're not demanding, you're RSVPing, yes to a party you've already been invited to. Once you see that $1,000 can show up, a fascinating question arises: what are the upper limits? Is there a ceiling? The amazing answer is no. $1,000 is just as easy for the universe to deliver as 100 million. The only difference is in your own mind and your own ability to believe it. Let me tell you about Daniel from Denver. Daniel was an inventor, a brilliant mind with a startup, focused on a revolutionary green energy patent. He was also drowning in debt, and on the verge of losing everything. He used the prayer to get his initial bills paid, a few thousand here, a few thousand there. It worked, but then he decided to go for the big one. He swapped in the words $100 million. He didn't just say the words, he lived them. In his mind, he pictured the celebratory dinner after the buyout. He felt the weight of the pen as he signed the final documents. He imagined the press release announcing the acquisition of his green energy patent by a major multinational corporation. He did this for 18 months. 18 months of holding that vision, speaking the prayer, and letting it go, even when his reality screamed failure. Then it happened. A massive multinational corporation, the exact one he had visualized, initiated a buyout. The negotiations were tense. Finally, they came back with their last, best, and final offer. The price tag? Exactly $100 million. Daniel told me he went home that night, sat in his quiet apartment, and just laughed until he cried. He looked up at the ceiling and said, "Took you long enough." So let me ask you, what's a number that would genuinely change your life right now? Drop it in the comments below. I want to see what you're claiming. And if you're getting value from these stories, tap that like button to let the algorithm know that more people need to see this. Are you ready to try this? Let's make this real for you right now. Here is your 4-step plan for tonight. 1. Write the affirmation. Don't just think it, and don't type it in your phone. Get a pen and a piece of paper. There is a powerful old-school magic in the physical act of writing. It connects your brain to the words in a deeper way. Write it out. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that the your specific amount dollars which is mine by divine right is now released and reaches me under grace in a perfect way. 2. Read it out loud. When you're in bed and the lights are off, read the words out loud 3 times. Don't shout it. Use a quiet, drowsy voice. You want to match the frequency of the sleepy state you're about to enter. Let the words be the last thing that vibrates in your room and in your mind before you drift off. 3. Feel it as if it's already happened. This is the most important part. For just 60 seconds. Imagine the feeling of the money already being in your bank account. What does that feel like? It feels like relief. It feels like freedom. It feels like safety. Maybe you can smell the crispness of new bills, or hear the satisfying ping of a direct deposit notification on your phone. Feel the emotion of the problem already being solved. 4. Let it go. Roll over. Go to sleep. Your job is done. You have successfully planted the seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious. Now you must let it go completely, like a Netflix cliffhanger that you know your brain will binge solve for you overnight while you rest. The coolest part of this whole phenomenon isn't really the money. That's just the first, most obvious result. The truly magical part is the ripple effect, the way the abundance flows through people and changes them. Sara, once terrified of the repo man, now leaves $100 tips for waitresses who look as tired as she used to be. Marcus, the former skeptic, used a portion of his consulting fee to fund a Women in STEM scholarship at his local community college. Grandma Ruth didn't just buy her cottage, she planted a massive lilac garden and now hosts Sunday potlucks for anyone in the neighborhood who feels lonely. The money doesn't just stop with them, it becomes a tool for creating more joy and connection in the world. They proved that what Shinn wrote all those years ago was true. Generosity isn't about loss, it's about creating a vacuum. When you give freely and joyfully, you create an empty space that the universe rushes to fill, often with something even bigger and better. Cash leaves their hands and boomerangs back fatter and faster than before. It proves that money is just energy, and like any energy, it needs to flow. I can hear the biggest question brewing in your mind. Yeah, but what if I try it and nothing happens? This is a valid question, and there's a very specific answer that Shinn herself addressed. Usually, when the prayer doesn't seem to work, the blockage isn't external, it's internal. The culprit is almost always buried resentment, specifically resentment toward money itself. Think about it. Do you have deep-seated subconscious beliefs that money is the root of all evil, that rich people are greedy and corrupt, that wanting more money makes you a bad person? If you subconsciously hate or fear money, why would it ever stick around? Money will ghost you. The antidote is forgiveness. Before you do the prayer, take 60 seconds to actively forgive your financial past. Forgive every late fee. Forgive every bill you couldn't pay. Forgive that cheap boss from 10 years ago. Forgive yourself for every financial mistake you've ever made. Release the resentment. A woman named Priya in our community tried the prayer for a month with 0 results. I suggested she try this internal housekeeping. She spent a week just forgiving her former company, which had laid her off unfairly. The next week, out of the blue, a recruiter contacted her on LinkedIn for a remote job that was not only a perfect fit for her skills, but also doubled her previous salary. She calls it internal housekeeping. I call it magic spring cleaning for your soul. Once you get good at this, you can move on to an advanced technique I call the midnight revision. This is for dealing with negative events that happen during your day. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real memory and an imagined one. So if something bad happens, you can literally revise the memory before you go to sleep, replacing it with a better outcome. Did you get a parking ticket? As you're drifting off, visualize yourself walking back to the car and seeing the meter blinking with time still left. Did you have a tense meeting with your boss? Revise the scene in your head to one where they praised your work and offered you a raise. After you've successfully revised the negative event into a positive one in your imagination, then do the prosperity prayer. This clears out the negative energy of the day and realigns you with a positive state of reception. I'll give you a true story from my own life. I received some bad news right before bed that really upset me. Instead of stewing on it, I revised the scene in my head until I felt peaceful. Then I did the prayer. I woke up the next morning and my neighbor knocked on my door. He was holding a brand new top-of-the-line laptop. "Hey," he said, "I just upgraded and my company said I can do whatever I want with my old one. It's only a few months old. Do you want it?" True story, mine. The stories just keep coming. They're a constant flood in my inbox, each one a testament to this simple principle. There's Joey, a rideshare driver in Chicago. His transmission blew, and he needed $2,000 for the repair, money he absolutely did not have. He did the prayer for that exact amount. His next passenger was a venture capitalist. They got to talking. Joey pitched him an idea for an app he'd been dreaming of, and the VC ended up funding the entire project. His eventual exit from the company, $2.3 million. Then there's Lily, a nursing student drowning in debt. She prayed for help with her tuition. 2 weeks later, she got an email congratulating her on winning a national essay contest that she had completely forgotten entering. The prize was $5,000 and a new laptop. And Arturo, a chef who dreamed of owning his own food truck. He needed $8,000 for the down payment and equipment. He whispered the prayer every night for a week. The following Monday, he got a letter from the city informing him he had been awarded a small business development grant he had applied for months ago and assumed he didn't get. The amount was for exactly $8,000, with no strings attached. There has to be a catch, right? There is one, but it's not what you think. Shinn was very clear on this point. Your motives matter. Your intention is everything. If you are using this prayer to try and flex on Instagram, to show off, to prove someone wrong, or to fill an ego-shaped hole in your heart, the results will stall. That energy is needy and grasping, and it repels abundance. The universe doesn't respond to ego. It responds to faith. You have to approach this like a child asking for a bedtime story. Come with an energy that is open, playful, trusting, and full of wonder. A child doesn't worry about how the story will be told, they just know it will be, and they wait with joyful anticipation. That is the energy you must cultivate. If you can't come with that open, trusting heart, then as Shinn would say, don't come at all. If you're the kind of person who benefits from tangible actions, you can create a small ritual to make the process even more potent. Create a tiny altar. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could be a corner of your nightstand. Place 3 things on it: a small candle, your handwritten prayer, and a lucky coin or any small object that represents wealth to you. Each night, before you read the prayer, light the candle. This simple act of lighting a flame is a powerful signal to your brain that something sacred is about to happen. Hold your lucky coin, read the prayer out loud 3 times with intention, and then blow out the candle. This ritual isn't for the universe, it's for you. It's a physical trigger, a brain switch that tells your entire being to flip into get ready mode. It deepens the belief and focuses your intent like a laser beam. Tonight is the night. No more waiting, no more wondering. While you brush your teeth, start feeling the feeling of tomorrow's deposit already clearing in your account. Feel the relief wash over you. If a sliver of doubt pops into your head, and it will just answer it calmly with the words of the prayer, like a soothing lullaby on a loop. Doubt says, "This is silly." You reply, "Infinite Spirit, I give thanks." Doubt says, "It'll never happen for me." You reply, "That the money which is mine by divine right is now released." You are not on your knees begging for a pizza delivery to show up. You are the host of a grand feast, and your only job is to calmly and confidently set the table. The feast always shows up when the table is ready. And now, a blessing for everyone who has made it this far. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that every single person reading or listening to these words is now a powerful, undeniable magnet for the exact amount of abundance that is theirs by divine right. May it be released under grace, in the most perfect way, and in perfect timing. The check is in the mail. The brilliant idea is brewing. The life-changing introduction is just 3 minutes away in their future. Your job is simply to receive it. So tonight, sleep like a baby who knows they are safe and cared for, and prepare to wake up richer, not just in your wallet, but in your heart, your health, and your joy. If you are in, and you are ready to claim what is yours, type "I claim it" in the comments below. Make that your declaration to the universe, and if you know someone who needs to hear this powerful message, share this video with them. Let the ripple effect begin with you. Then come back tomorrow, or the day after, and share your first miracle. We'll be waiting to celebrate with you.